Hey everyone, it's Megan here with Mentorship with Megan, and today we're talking about the Occupational Therapy Code of Ethics. If you have your NBCOT prep book, go ahead and turn to page 66, and we're going to be starting down towards the bottom. So we're going to be talking about Code of Ethics in regards to preparing for that exam, but remember that your Code of Ethics are something that you really need to hold near and dear with you, because if as a practitioner you choose not to follow these, you run the risk of losing your license, getting put on probation, permanent suspension, all of those things. So these are very important for your exam, but also important as an occupational therapist. We're going to go ahead and start with principle number 1, beneficence. And this is where occupational therapy personnel, so OTs, COTAs, or even your assistants, are going to be demonstrating a concern for safety for all recipients of their services. So what does that mean? Okay, what that means is that you are going to be providing appropriate interventions, evaluations that are based off of evidence. You learn all about evidence-based practice throughout your schooling. Here's where you're going to implement this into your role as an OT. You're also going to ensure that people are credentialed, qualified, and experienced to be able to implement certain strategies. Great example, LSVT big. Make sure that that person has those credentials to implement that. Looking at lymphedema treatment, are they certified if they say they're certified? Okay, so making sure that if somebody is saying they are able to provide that service, that they do have those credentials to go along with that. This also looks at the proficiency and judgment in our own competencies and looking at our ability to not do harm while we are implementing new areas of practice. So again, that research, that evidence behind things. Maybe you've heard this before. Go ahead and do something. If it's not harmful, okay, try something, but it may not be beneficial. But we don't want to implement any type of intervention or strategy that's going to harm our recipients of our care. Another thing that falls under beneficence is referring when appropriate. You shouldn't be doing things outside of your scope of practice. So making sure that you are referring to PT, speech, a psychologist, back to their primary care physician, all of those type of things. So again, beneficence equals safety. Principle number 2, non-maleficence or non-malicious is how I like to remember that one. And this is looking at personnel's refraining from doing harm to others. So we're not going to hurt, do no harm to persons, okay? Non-maleficence. So that's kind of what it says. Avoid causing pain or injury to your recipients. Don't abandon services to people just because they run out of funding or they are transitioning into a new realm. Make sure that you're following that care for them into their next place, whether it's outpatient, whether it's somebody transitioning from school into adulthood or over that age of 21. Make sure that they're set up, okay? That's ensuring that they're not going to have harm or regression in what they've taken away from your services already. Make sure that you are avoiding things that compromise the safety of your occupational therapy service. So that could be allowing somebody in to participate in the service that isn't the one directly receiving that. It could be doing something beyond your skill set at that time and saying you can do that. Okay, so we're trying to avoid harming those clients. You also want to avoid any type of relationships that are going to be a negative reflection on you as a practitioner. So keeping your relationships with your clients professional, keeping your relationships with students that you're overseeing as a practitioner professional. Also, maybe if you're an educator, keeping that professional line for that. And then also avoid bartering for services. So sometimes people will say, I'll do this if you give me this. That is not okay. And that could cause harm to that other individual. So non-maleficence, that's principle 2. non-malicious, or do no harm to others. All right, on to principle number 3, which is probably one of my favorites, autonomy. I like the word, so that's why it's probably my favorite. But principle 3 is autonomy. And this is the understanding, or the principle that occupational therapy professionals are going to respect the rights of the individual's ability to determine what they want from their care, their privacy, and their consent to your treatment. Okay, so their self-determination that they want to pursue or what they want from the therapy, the privacy of them receiving that therapy, so confidentiality, and then also consent for you to provide that treatment. So what does this look like? This looks like including those individuals in decisions, being open and honest about where they're at, their potential for therapy or recovery, sharing with them their assessment results, listening to them, fully disclosing the benefits and the risk of a particular treatment. Okay, so talking about something as simple as providing heat to somebody prior to starting a treatment. Well, the benefits are it might loosen you up, it might increase blood flow to that area, but the risks are you could get burned if it gets too hot. You might have redness. It's all those minimal risks and benefits. In research, you put this in a consent form that says the benefits of this could be this, the risk could be X, Y, and Z. Oftentimes in research, it is physical and emotional risks that come along with those things. You need to respect that client's right to refuse your services or to go somewhere else. They may have poor outcomes with you. They may not see eye to eye with you, or they just don't feel it's necessary for them. Make sure that you are respecting those rights. A huge component of autonomy is maintaining that confidentiality of that individual. It is not anybody outside of their care team's business what is going on with them, how they're doing, what kind of a person they are, etc. So making sure that you are not overstepping those barriers. And then finally, understanding how to communicate when there are communication barriers so that you are fully understanding what someone wants. This could be damage to the brain, so they may have aphasia and they can't understand or communicate with you. It may be that they speak a different language, or culturally they're not understanding. It is a huge issue in the world of healthcare right now that we truly want to do the best by our patients, but because of those communication barriers, we sometimes don't do the best or communicate exactly what the outcomes of this person's diagnosis or their treatment may be. So that would be autonomy. Autonomy is respect for persons, privacy, confidentiality. Okay, so that was principle 3. Moving on to principle 4, justice. Justice to me equals fairness, objectivity, okay? So looking at fairness and objectivity when treating clients. What does that look like? What are some examples of that? You will treat everybody that needs your services with the same respect and fairness. You're not going to pick and choose that because they are in prison when you're treating them, that means they deserve less of your treatment or less of your skills than somebody on the outside of prison. Because somebody is homosexual versus heterosexual, you do not treat them differently. Different races, okay? So taking into context their culture, their place that they're at in life, maybe their socioeconomic status, but all of that is there to help you grow and foster their success with therapy, not for you to make personal decisions about that. Make sure that you are providing appropriate supervision to your other staff. So if you're an OT, making sure that you understand what supervision you should be applying to a COTA or a rehab assistant or an OT assistant of any kind. Make sure that you are aware of the laws and regulations of your license. Okay, so of AOTA, your licensure boards, make sure that you are implementing those. Certain states don't allow you to do certain things. Okay, so that is under justice as well. And then finally, making sure that you're billing honestly and collecting appropriate fees in an honest manner. So you are not billing outrageous amounts, or you're not billing for something that you didn't do. All right, so that would be principle 4, justice. And so I like to say justice equals fairness. Okay, you can go ahead and pick whatever you want for that word, but that's how I remember it. All right, and moving on to principle 5, we got 2 left. Principle 5 is veracity. Veracity. So veracity is looking at that accurate and objective information when representing the profession. So our other ones, we're looking at how we treat that individual that's receiving our services. These next 2 are really looking at our profession as a whole and our interactions as a whole. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are looking at our direct interactions and how that affects our recipient of occupational therapy or your client. 5 and 6 are looking at our profession as a whole. So principle 5, veracity. This is saying that you are going to be accurate and objective with how you represent yourself to the profession. So this is your credentials that you put behind your name. Okay. Are you representing what you're certified in? What level of education you had? Are you licensed in your state? Okay. Also looking at not putting any claims out there that are misleading or false about what you provide. So tweaking the words of maybe a certification that you don't have, but you want people to think that you're certified in sensory integration. Ensuring that all of your marketing and advertising are truthful about what type of services that you provide. And this is all levels, whether you're doing research, if you're an educational facility, so if you're a teacher, you can't be falsifying what you provide. So let's say that you have an international opportunity in your advertisement, and that does not actually exist at this time. That needs to be removed, as that is breaking that code of ethics. Be honest, fair, accurate, and respectful and timely in reporting your fact-based information. So whether it's a job performance or student performance, don't falsify information that could harm that individual or harm yourself. So if you're looking at your annual review, make sure that you're honest about where you're at with all of those things. Provide students with access to accurate information. What does that look like? Looking at the policies and procedures manual. What does it look like when it comes to what that occupational therapy program or institution provides for you? And then maintaining privacy and truthfulness when using telehealth. So that falls under that veracity or telecommunication, so that you're not sharing information across open systems. All right, so that was principle 5. Remember, that one is similar to justice, as it's looking at accurate and objective information, but the difference between justice and veracity, justice is towards our clients, and veracity is towards our profession as a whole. The last principle would be fidelity, which is principle 6, and this is looking at treating our colleagues, other professionals, clients, all with respect, and making sure that we are doing this with the utmost integrity. So again, we did talk about this with autonomy towards our clients. Fidelity is towards the profession as a whole and who we interact with on a professional level. So in this area, we are talking about looking at protecting private information related to students, colleagues, or employees. So you're not sharing what people make. You're not sharing the grades of students in your program or what their reviews have stated. Under fidelity, we're looking at addressing those unethical or illegal practices that can jeopardize the safety or well-being of our team. So this could be something where your coworker is not showing up for work on time, but is billing out time when they're not there. This could be things that are not beneficial to the group as a whole, whether it's not communicating properly as a group. So something that is huge under fidelity is communication and conflict management and resolution. That is a big component of this. Following those policies, procedures, and protocols to navigate conflict, how to communicate with others. The last part of this section that is very crucial is that you are aware of your own maybe biases that could affect how you communicate with others or how you treat others, being aware of those. And this could be things towards professional relationships. It could be towards other entities, whether that's other professionals. So being aware of those and making a conscious effort to learn how to keep those biases out of your professional world. So in recap, we are looking at the 6 ethical principles, starting with beneficence, which for me equals safety. Okay. Non-maleficence is going to look at non-malicious, or for me equals do no harm. Autonomy, respect of persons. Okay. Autonomy, respect of persons. Justice is fairness and objectivity of what you're portraying to your clients. Veracity, okay, that's going to be accurate information about you as a professional. And then finally, fidelity is integrity, discretion, and fairness towards everyone we interact with in our profession. All right, go ahead and study away for this section and hope to see you later.